Thanks.
We are live.
Welcome everyone to Connected Learning TV. This is the first webinar of our June 2015 series titled Spotlight on Cities of Learning. If you're watching this, please take a moment to share it with your networks so that we can share the good news and get more people on the webinar. I'm Sybil Madison-Boyd. I'm the director of the Learning Pathways program at Digital Youth Network, which is at DePaul University in the College of Computing and Digital Media. Digital Youth Network is the anchor org that helps to lead the work of Chicago City of Learning. And I'll be your host for today. Each week throughout this series on Connected Learning TV, we'll be exploring a Cities of Learning theme with one of the current cities that's implementing this amazing movement. We're starting, of course, with Chicago, and then we'll go to Dallas, Pittsburgh, and Washington, D.C., where you'll get a chance to meet members of their anchor orgs and their partners. Cities of Learning is a national effort to remake learning in an exciting enterprise that prepares all young people for the world that we live in today and the world that they will work in tomorrow by bringing together all of a city's resources to support their growth and development. Cities of Learning offer a variety of free and affordable in-person and online learning opportunities where young people can earn digital badges that showcase what they've achieved. Today, we're talking with Alex Cornwell, Na-Tae Thompson, and Vaughn Bryant about their organization's summer events and programs here in Chicago, all of which are part of Chicago's City of Learning offerings. Before we dive into our chat, let's go over a couple of details. To those of you who are watching live right now, we welcome your comments and questions either via the Twitter hashtag CitiesLearn or hashtag ExploreShy or the Q&A feature that you should see within the video player. We'll do our best to address your questions here in the Google Hangout when we get to the Q&A part of today's webinar. And then before we actually get started in conversation, I want to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. So can each of you say a little bit about yourself and your organization and what brings you to this webinar topic today? We'll start with Alex and then go to Na-Tae and then to Vaughn. Alex?
Hi, everyone. Cornwell. I'm the director of the Chicago Lights Tutoring and Summer Day programs. And so specifically in the summer, we are servicing students going into 1st through 9th grade. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So we do academic learning in language arts and math, as well as arts instruction in singing, dancing, digital music production, acting, and art. We also do field trips with the students every Friday. We have career exploration and career development programming for our 7th through 9th graders, and we also do a variety of physical outdoor recreation classes and a lot of fun things. So our program actually is 34 years old this summer, and we are going to be we primarily serve kids that used to live what was formerly called Cabrini Green, and then also a lot of students on the west side. But we don't have any sort of geographic boundaries. Any student who is in need of summer programming can come to our program.
Thanks, Alex. Na-Tae?
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Okay, so I am the co-founder and executive director of TrueStar Foundation, which is a youth media organization in Chicago, and we work with middle school and high school students to produce different media properties. They produce TrueStar Magazine, TrueStar Junior Magazine, TrueStar Radio, TrueStarIs.com, and then we also partner with the Park District to produce The Park, which is a teen-produced magazine specifically around the Chicago Park District. We work with students in after-school and summer programming, and we are able to provide different media, we provide different after-school and summer programs. So we have photography, graphic design, digital media, journalism, sales and marketing, where they learn the business side, and also photography, and radio broadcasting, of course. So all the young people work across the city of Chicago. We work with about 150 students in the summer in a 6-week program, 4 days a week. So we'll be on the west side, the south side, primarily the south side, but we also have the west side as well. And we will be doing a lot of things throughout the summer. We are very engaged in the community. We have a lot of brand ambassadors who are out at different community festivals and events who are working to increase the knowledge of the work that TrueStar is doing with young people throughout the city. And it is ages 14 to 19 for the summer.
Thank you, Notte. Vaughn?
I'm Vaughn Bryant. I'm with the Chicago Park District. I'm the Chief Program Officer. So basically, I'm in charge of all of our program delivery for the city. So we work with everyone from the early childhood population all the way up to the seniors. Our biggest program over the summer is our summer day camp. We serve youth ages 6 to 12. We have a variety of teen camps as well, and we are probably the largest provider of jobs for youth in the state of Illinois. We employ youth ages 16 to 24 over the summer, doing everything from being rec leaders at day camp to junior laborers, cutting the grass all over the city. So I'll stop there because I would rather get more into the detail of what we're doing versus what I do. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. So it's great to have these wonderful partners with us today, and as you just heard, spanning a very broad age range, serving youth from preschool all the way through to young adulthood, and offering a wide variety, just a sampling of the wide variety of learning opportunities available here in Chicago. Could each of you maybe take a few moments to talk about what you're most proud about in terms of the work that you're doing with young people, particularly the work that you engage them in during the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the work that we're most proud of is that we're keeping students learning throughout the summer. That's not their favorite part of the summer programming, but it's definitely our most exciting piece is that for 6 weeks in the summer, they are continuing to challenge themselves, stretch themselves, get ready for the new school year. So a lot of our academic learning, although we make it fun and engaging, is really helping to bridge some of the gaps that may have occurred during the school year, and then also get them ready for the new school year. So anywhere from 90 to 100% of our students are either maintaining or improving their skills in language arts and math throughout our 6-week program over the summer. So that's something that's super exciting for us. And the other piece of it is our arts instruction. The students are just super engaged in it, and they've always been drawn to the arts programming that we have, and we tried it fresh every year, and we added in digital music production a few years ago, which has just been so popular, and the kids are making really great beats and music, and they're writing poetry and lyrics, and so it's been a really great addition to the programming.
Thank you, Alex. Notte, what are you most proud of as you think about the work that you've been doing with young people around media production?
We're most proud, number one, of being able to provide a safe space for the young people during the summer when, crime is just at its height. And we are also proud that we are able to give the young people a voice where, they're able to really voice their opinion, their concerns, things that they like, what they don't like, because as adults, we always think that we know what's cool, and they totally let us know that we don't. So that's really what we are proud of, being able to give them the voice and keeping them safe, and at the same time being able to make a little bit of money for the upcoming school year. So we simultaneously teach financial responsibility. We try to explain the importance of opening bank accounts and things of that nature. So we have different workshops that come in to kind of professionalize that and help them with resume building. So we're really proud of being able to attempt to take them to the next level for post-secondary.
Thank you. And Vaughn, the spectrum of the work that you do is really, really broad, but I'm sure there are a couple of things that you would you can share with us about kind of just your pride and the achievements that have been able to be accomplished at the Park District.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One is just exposure to, you know, all of the different sort of variety of academic topics that are out there. So, but we do it in a very fun way. So whether it's team building or exposing kids to technology, health and wellness and fitness, and the variety of sports we do, I think is you know, something that we can definitely be proud of. You know, in addition, you know, just our workforce development work, just, you know, with hiring teams and teaching them sort of our program quality methods that we try to instill in our own staff. You know, our campers, you know, get a better quality camp, but we're also teaching teens and young adults how to deliver a quality camp and how to, you know, build community within their specific groups, to create structure and clear limits, because we know that young people thrive when they have structure and clear limits. And then, you know, the cooperative learning from each other and learning the things that we're trying to teach them over the summer is something that we definitely take pride in.
And what's exciting about what everybody has just shared is how connected to connected learning all of what you're saying is, and the underlying design principles and learning principles that are so important to connected learning, like learning being academically oriented, learning being peer supported, learning being production oriented, and that's one of the exciting things for us at Chicago City of Learning, being able to work with partners who are engaged in such meaningful, rich and robust learning experiences with young people here in the city. Can we talk a little bit about some of the challenges of engaging youth in your wonderful summer programs? What are some of the challenges, the things that maybe keep you up at night, or the problems in the work that you're still working on and seeking to find solutions for?
I think one of the biggest challenges for us is just the nature of the summertime, and I think that we do have a lot of exciting programs, and I always say to people that if I was a kid and went to Summer Day, I would absolutely love it and think it was the greatest thing possible. But you know, the kids, I think the arts piece and the field trips and sort of a lot of those fun yet engaging things that we do, I think that's a draw, but the language arts and the math always is difficult because they don't want it to feel like school, and so we do as many things as we possibly can to make it not feel like school. And so I think one thing that's really been useful for us these last couple summers is having the badges and partnering with CSOL to develop those badges and get the kids engaged in that way. So it doesn't feel like, oh, this is just a homework assignment. It feels like, okay, this is something outside of what we're doing. So our Shy Lights Young Author badge last year was around like writing an autobiography, an autobiographical piece. And so the kids, it was about them and what's more engaging than that. And then this summer we're going to be working on poetry and sort of linking that in with lyrics for digital music or lyrics for our singing and music class. And so I think there's a lot that can be looped in with the kids and get them more invested in that actual academic and learning piece through the badges. And so that's been really helpful.
Thanks, Alex. Na-Tae, some of the challenges that you've encountered?
A couple of challenges is we have a lot of students that apply for work with TrueStar over the summer, and we just don't have enough spaces. So that's always the #1 issue that we have. We also have an issue because we have so many different programs throughout the city. Radio broadcasting, for example, is offered at Chicago State, and we may have a student on the west side who really wants to learn more about radio broadcasting, but logistically they can't make it there. So we have an issue with, students wanting to learn different facets within the organization, and we just haven't been able to offer that transition for them to be able to kind of bounce around to different programs. Number one, for the safety issue with the traveling, so we would like to be able to offer more of the same programming throughout the city. So that's a challenge. And the other challenge is, it may be a couple of students who kind of are interested in doing everything. So they may be on the soccer team, the basketball, all these different things, but they also want to do a program like TrueStar, and they just spread themselves way too thin. And they don't realize it until they're about 2 weeks into the program. So just, different things like that that'll come up. That's all I can think of right now.
Thanks. Vaughn?
Yeah, I think our challenges are different just in the sense that we're so large, and I think it's often hard for large institutions to be nimble and relevant because we have to serve so many people. And I think as you get older and become a teenager, your interests narrow. And, I don't think we're always in the best position to quickly move into a space where we don't have an expertise without partnership. So, that's part of why we partner with TrueStar, because there's a lot going on in the park that needs to be covered, and I don't have the staff that has a journalistic background in the way that, TrueStar and their partners do. So, partnerships become that much more important. But then we know teens are also finicky, and I don't know that there's ever an answer for that. Sometimes they say they want things, then they don't necessarily show up for what they say they want. So I think it's, remaining relevant and creating excitement and value that makes teens want to come and show up every day. And I think that's always going to be a difficult challenge because, that's just the nature of that time in your life.
Thank you all. And what is maybe exciting is not the right word to use when you're talking about challenges, but what's kind of exciting about what we're trying to achieve with Chicago City of Learning is addressing some of those challenges, right? So making young people aware of what they are learning, even when they don't think that they're learning, helping them connect that learning to their lives in and outside of school. Making sure they can find programs so that the resources don't seem as limited from the young person's perspective, and ensuring that they can find something to really dive into anywhere they are in the city, right? Because travel is an issue for so many young people. And then Vaughn talking about the partnerships that enable us to really help kids craft their own pathways, right? Whether that starts out by dibbling and dabbling and not really committing to something, but hopefully results in young people finding that thing that really fuels their passion and being able to know where to actually go to dive deeper in that. And so those are all problems that we're hoping that Chicago City of Learning can help us address. One thing that I wanted to ask everybody about, it's a broad question, please feel free to get really specific, but coming back to Alex, raised the kind of utility of badges in her particular program. And one thing that we really think is powerful about digital badges as a tool is that it helps us articulate what young people are actually learning and achieving in ways that maybe before were invisible. So it would be great to hear from each of you or any of you, whether you have a badge or not, what are some of the skills or dispositions, habits of mind, sets of knowledge that you're building in your young people. That they're gaining those things, but that maybe still are kind of invisible to them. What's some of that hidden or invisible learning that is really important to call out to your young people who are engaged in some of your programming during the summer, that they might not be aware of or might not be making a connection to currently.
I think one of the biggest things for us has been badging our arts programming. You know, we're not trying to sort of evaluate the students based on how great their artwork is, right? Or how great of an actor they are. You know, this is all about exposure and engagement and enjoyment, and learning something new, and maybe they're taking a talent a little further after they leave us. So we were always struggling with, well, how do we evaluate? How do we show that the student was engaged and they were focused in the work and they were collaborating, and they were having input into what scene was going to be in the final performance, or they were creating the beat, or they were creating the backdrop. And so the badging has really allowed us to put more of a concrete and evidence-based face on what the kids are learning. It's teamwork, it's working together, it's collaborating, it's creating, it's being focused, it's being engaged, it's enjoying the work. And so we're able to now show that the kids earn something through that by participating in these classes. And I think also, you know, I think just, you know, things are based so much on what you're good at in life, right? Like what you win, and if you're winning in, you know, your baseball game, or what grades you're getting. I think the kids just kind of participating in the art, they just looked at it and thought, hey, this is fun and I enjoy it, and you know, I enjoy, you know, being with people who also like doing it, and so there doesn't have to be a grade, but there can at least be an acknowledgement of what that is. And so that's really important, I think, for the kids to sort of grasp that this is something really meaningful.
Thanks, Alex. Na-Tae, what are your thoughts about some of the skills that you know you're developing in your young people that maybe are hidden to them that you would want to be made more visible?
We're relatively new to the badging game, and so it took a while to kind of get the kids to understand what it was all about, try to get them to understand the importance of it, and we're still working through that now. But some of the things that we work with them on is pretty similar to what Alex was saying. Some of the soft skills that they don't even realize that they are gaining until, you know, they're junior, senior year of high school, and they're like, oh yeah, they did tell me that a million times. But it would definitely be communication, being able to communicate written and oral. It would be a touch of like professionalism, being able to handle yourself in public, being able to speak up for yourself, being able to investigate and research. And this helps with school. A lot of them, unfortunately, are, frankly, you know, some of them may just be lazy and they won't want to put that extra effort into figuring out something that they're assigned to in school. And we see it every day in the program when they're submitting their stories. We're like, okay, no, you got to go back to the drawing board. But it's pretty much a lot of communication and just the confidence that comes along with being able to express yourself in front of someone, eye contact, a firm handshake, just, you know, some of those soft skills that we kind of take for granted as adults.
Thanks. Vaughn?
Just the things I mentioned earlier in terms of, you know, what we would consider building community is just helping kids learn the power of getting to know each other and what they have in common. You know, the structure and clear limits, and so just teaching them the value of being in a structured environment and knowing what to expect. So I think it's nothing greater than when, you know, kids come into a space and, you know, they can own the space because they know what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. And I think that's a very empowering feeling. And then the, you know, the cooperative learning part is, you know, I think it's fun to learn together and with each other. You know, and our badges are typically going to be more exposure, disposition type badges, so where we're just kind of giving kids exposure to a breadth of things. We don't really get into depth in things because we don't have kids for that long, and, you know, we're so broad that, you know, it makes sense for us to be a good launching pad for people to then go, you know, take the thing that sort of resonates with them deeper, you know, with another organization. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Now, all of you are talking about really important skills, some of which are kind of hidden in your programs, but also, just in life and in schools aren't necessarily, don't necessarily receive a lot of focus, right? Teamwork, collaboration, professionalism, communication, confidence, etc. As you think about, if you fast forward to the end of the summer and your young people returning to school, what would you want their teachers to know about what they've done and what they can do? And how would you want their teachers in schools to leverage some of what they've been able to achieve and build over the summer? What's your hope for them as they return to school in the fall?
So what summer, I think first and foremost, allows the kids to do when they're involved in programs that are partners with CSEL and all the other youth serving programs out here is that there's other interests and skills and talents that they have that they might not be able to show at school. And so I think it would be great for teachers to know, what were the kids engaged in, what was exciting for them, and especially the way that we run our programming is we're linking a lot of what we're doing, whether it's academic or arts or cultural, back to Common Core standards. And so kind of showing the teachers things that the kids may have been really successful in and how that linked back to what they might be learning in school, and that could be useful for a teacher to bring in some more resources or activities or ideas surrounding what we were doing in the summer. So I think that would be really useful. And I know that I don't know if CPS teachers have access and are able to see the badges that their kids learned over the summer. I don't know if that's a thing that's been put in place yet, but I think that would be really neat for teachers to know too. And if there's a student that maybe isn't doing so well in school for whatever reason, to at least know that there is engagement and that student is excited about learning, but maybe in a different way, and that could really speak a lot to what resources might be able to be put in place in the school year.
Thanks, Alex. Notte, what are your thoughts about how you'd want teachers to leverage what young people have done with you during the summer when they return to school in the fall?
That's a good question, because we've been trying to figure that out for years, trying to get an understanding of how we can help the teachers help the young people, and how we could get the young people to explain to their teachers what they have been engaged with. And that's part of the whole kind of professional development, resume building, because we'll have students that participate in the program for 3 or 4 years and cannot articulate what they've learned. And then you ask them a few questions, and they're like, yeah, I did that, I did this, and it's like, this is what you need to be able to explain. And depending on the class or, the teacher that they're with, I think that it would be great if not like, when you were in elementary school, you kind of have to do a paper to say, what did you do over the summer? But, something along those lines. I mean, maybe it could be a first assignment, or if they're doing a presentation of some sort to kind of break the ice during the first week of school. It would be great, because I'm sure that there are thousands of kids who are doing great things over the summer, and it'll be a good way for the teachers to understand, okay, these are some skill sets that these young people learned during the summer, and here's how I could potentially help advance that. So that would be great if it was possible.
We're going to work on that, Matei.
Great.
Vaughn, in your many years of working in the Park District, which again you mentioned the scale is awe-inspiring. What is your hope for how what kids have done through the parks during the summer kind of gets utilized or leveraged or acknowledged when they return to school in the fall?
Yeah, I actually think, I look at it more the order being that, we, like Notte said, sort of help the kids understand conceptually what they're learning. So when they get in the classroom and they, sort of learn more of the didactic part of it or the academic part of it, that they can, sort of go back to the experience they had and be like, oh, this means this, and I had this experience before, so that they can, connect the dots, if you will, just based on what you guys are trying to get done. That's something that I've when I go to parent-teacher conferences for my daughter, that's what she's able to do. Like, we give her enough experiences where when she's in the classroom, she's like, oh, I've experienced this, you know, in this place. And so to the extent that the kids can understand that, you know, the things they're learning in school are attached to experiences they have outside the classroom, you know, that's ultimately what we want. And then the teachers can sort of build on that because they start to get to know the kids, what their experiences are, and then suggest things that kids can do to sort of bring to life experientially what they're trying to teach them in the class, and always have that back and forth, you know, so that they always know that there's a way for you to actually experience what we're teaching you in the classroom.
Yeah, connecting those dots is so important. And one of the things that wanted to hear from each of you is how do you see your work connecting to kind of the bigger future of young people? So not just in terms of learning, but kind of what they want to do in the future. How are your programs kind of important to that really big, beyond just school picture for youth?
You know, anytime we can give youth an experience that is beyond something they know in their neighborhoods, their homes, their schools, obviously opens up a ton of ideas and opportunities that they just might, you know, not have thought of. And so we're always very, you know, first and foremost, we're always open and value very much what the youth are coming in and what they want and what they need. And so we're constantly evaluating and changing programs and building new things to sort of get them those experiences and those opportunities that they might not be experiencing anywhere else. And then I think the other piece of that too is partnering with other organizations and collaborating in the way that, you know, Cecil does and Thrive and HESUB and all, you know, all these different collaboratives that we're sharing resources. And so if a student can't get it from us, that they're getting it from somewhere else. And so I think just that exposure and experience is number one to getting the kids to think about, you know, what they want to do but when they grow up and how they're going to get there beyond just being a lawyer, doctor, basketball player, rap star. So what other, you know, ideas and journeys and paths are out there?
Matei?
I think with TrueStar, our goal is to get them prepared for the workforce, to give them an idea of what they want to do as an adult, or give them an idea of what they don't want to do as an adult. You know, they may participate as a journalist or as a photographer, and they figure out, okay, this is not something that I want to do. I thought this was something, but not really feeling it, which is great because you don't spend 4 years in college focused on journalism when you really want to be a veterinarian, you know, whatever the situation is. I think that by us placing them in real-world situations, it makes a great opportunity for them, because the young people in high school and elementary school receive opportunities that people who have master's degrees don't receive. They're really out on the ground conducting interviews and creating content for an actual magazine. So we're not theory-based. We love the idea that this is a real business, this is a real project that you're working on. So that's what we do day in, day out.
I just wanted to emphasize what you said, which I totally agree. It's awesome when kids can find out what they don't like. So it's about helping them understand what they really are passionate about, but also helping them understand what they're not into, right? And giving them a lot of things to explore, options for exploration. Vaughn, what are your thoughts about that bigger picture?
Yeah, the same. I think just the experiential learning. I think getting them ready for the workforce, exposure, all the same things. I don't really have anything to add to that.
One of the things you mentioned before, Vaughn, that made me think about this, and a lot of times when I'm talking about Chicago City of Learning and the work that we're trying to do here, I bring up the issue of the opportunity gap. And as you were talking about your daughter, it made me think about that and how, you know, the statistic that I like to share is that, you know, more resource families, upper income families, spend $8,000 to $11,000 a year on their children on extracurriculars. So not talking about school, but outside of school. And we think about that, and we think about our city, which has, you know, the extremes of very resourced people and folks like me who are middle class, have lots of resources, lots of things at my fingertips for my kids. And we think about youth who are under-resourced and families who want them to be just as successful as I want my kids to be, but not necessarily all the tools to do that. I just want to hear from folks about what are your thoughts about this opportunity gap that our young people have, especially in the informal learning space, in terms of not just the experiences, but also, you know, this connecting of the dots work that happens, that Vaughn's mentioning, that happens for some youth who, you know, whose experiences all over the place are kind of mediated. You know, they're being helped with connecting those dots. So how in your work are you addressing that opportunity gap with your youth, and what have you found to be powerful practices around that?
Well, you know, obviously one of the biggest ways that we're addressing that is offering our program for the summer very, very, very low cost, and if anybody has difficulty paying for that, we offer scholarship and you know, so that cost is never a barrier to participate in the program. And I know that's obviously why a lot of us, you know, nonprofits and government-funded programs, that's why we're here to offer that. But I think it's constantly being aware of what is out there and what opportunities are being offered and afforded to middle class and upper middle class students, and then how can we get there? How can we offer that same level of quality and opportunity and selection that everyone else has? And I think that the greatest way that we're doing that is participating in this collective impact work and this collaborative work, where you know, it's not just Chicago Light Summer Day doing its work, it's what we're doing in sort of the whole ecosystem of youth serving programming in this youth serving organizations in this city. And so I think anytime that us as service providers can get together and have these discussions, and I feel like I'm really like supporting the CECL work here, but I think it is so important, and I think that anytime we can get together and be working towards these common goals and referring kids to each other's programs and knowing what's out there, and you know, if they can't get you know, journalism with us, then, you know, I know Notte and sending them over that way, and if they can't, you know, and vice versa. So I think that opportunity gap is real, and I think that's why we're all here, and so we have to continue to stay connected and keep the kids connected to the work.
Thanks, Alex, and we did not pay you to say anything that you've said today. Notte, what are your own personal thoughts about the opportunity gap, and what have you been doing over the years in your work to address that?
Unfortunately, there's a huge gap. I'm a parent as well of a 7-year-old, and I, you know, can totally see the difference. But what we do at TrueStar, fortunately through our funding partners, we've been able to not charge students to participate in a program, and in a lot of cases they're actually paid a stipend for participating. So we actively recruit students who go to the lower performing schools as well as the higher performing schools, because we think that it's important that that dynamic is able to meet and converse. We have a funny story where one summer we had a girl that went to St. Ignatius. She ended up being the best friends with a girl who went to Tilden. And they're still there. This was, you know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and they're still really good friends to this day. And they would not have met had they not had the opportunity of working with a program like TrueStar. So we think that's very important, just so that that social economic dynamic can be broken down, and they could just understand, you're 15, I'm 15, let's make this work.
Vaughn, your thoughts on the gap and how the Park District is trying to address it?
I mean, to me, sort of equity and access that's our job, sort of in government, is to ensure that, no matter where you live in the city, that you have access to the same, sort of basic opportunities. That's, again, where partnership is important. We're sort of engaged with Chicago Public Schools in some talks to try to work better together, because I think we just don't do enough of that between the two institutions. We're both citywide, and we both have a lot of access to kids, and there's no reason why every kid between the schools and the park shouldn't be able to play every sport imaginable across the city. Like, we should be able to do that sort of thing, and all of the social emotional learning that you get from extracurricular activities, we should be able to do that between the two of us. And so I think in this case, I've heard somebody say recently, how we're failing at public education. That's really the adults. Like, we have to do a better job of setting our egos aside and doing what we're here to do. I think the smaller organizations can be nimble, and they don't necessarily have to have the same reach, but as a government institution, we may not be able to specialize, but we can absolutely give the basic things across the city. And so I think that's extremely important. And it's honestly, one of the, my top priorities in my role with the park.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, and deeply believe that schools can't do it alone, right? And that it really is a community effort. We have a question that's come in that anyone can answer. I know we've been going Alex, Na-Tae, Vaughn, Alex, Na-Tae, Vaughn, but anybody can jump in here. Just raise your hand and go for it. Someone's asking, how much impact does the opportunity gap have on your choice of projects and opportunities? So how does that play into your thinking about what you're actually offering to young people? We've heard a little bit about that, but if anybody wants to kind of expound on that, go for it.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. The initiative that we're working on with CPS now is to empower all 400 elementary school principals to offer up to 45 sports. So that would be 24 for boys, 21 for girls, and obviously it happens in a seasonal way. So we're saying that, no matter where you go to school, every kid should be able to have a chance to be on a swimming team. So even if it's just one kid and you can't create a team at that school, if the park is the hub and we manage all the pools, then you can represent your school as an individual on a swim team in the park. So, that would be an example of something that we know we can deliver in the Park District. We know we can do sports. And so in conjunction with the schools, we should do that. And that should be available to every kid in the city regardless. And so, to specifically answer the question, we have to look at what our core function is and our core competency and make sure that's accessible throughout the city. So it really has to do with what we do and what we do well and offer that up versus things that we don't necessarily do well.
I love that response, especially the notion that given the resources, there shouldn't be a young person who doesn't have that opportunity, right? I love that. Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to talk about how the idea of the opportunity gap has actually led you to make certain choices about your programs or what you're offering?
I will. I mentioned it before, but we do actively recruit in lower performing, low income areas. And what we do is we listen to the young people and ask them, what are you interested in? We don't want to, just throw something on them and they're like, okay, we don't want to do that. We want to do guitar lessons. We think that's very important, and it's really cool to have something like the Park District or after-school programs at your school and community centers, because a lot of students may not know what they want to do, but the idea that the program is there, I think it's more so about getting the word out so that they know, because we have students who will reach out to us their senior year and say, if we hadn't known about this our freshman year, I would have been trying to reach out to you guys. So it's really about building the awareness of the offerings and, meeting the teams where they are and listening to them and trying to create something that they would be interested in. Because one thing may fit in Inglewood and it may not fit in North Lawndale. So, just really listening to that community.
Yeah, I keep hearing the theme of youth voice, Notte, when you talk. Here's another question. Is the majority of the work you do with youth scalable to a national level, or do you feel like it's really fine-tuned to youth in Chicago? So how place-based and Chicago-specific is this work that you're doing, or is it scalable?
I'll jump in on that one. The work that we do at TrueStar is scalable on a national level. We actually have done a pilot program in Denver, and we have some other markets that are interested, but we want to work with adults and students in those markets so that we could get the true voice of that city. Because what works in Chicago may not work in Atlanta. So we're going to keep with that same theme of listening to the community and listening to the young people.
Got it. So it sounds like you have a process that enables you to really be hyper-local.
Yes.
But you think it can work across communities. Anyone else have thoughts about whether your work is scalable? I mean, Vaughn, you're already at such a scale, but or whether there's something that's really unique or specific to Chicago about what you're doing.
I mean, my whole thing is there any major city in America that doesn't have issues with their public school system or with resources to low-income communities? I mean, that's the thing. I think a lot of this can be scalable, but Notte is correct in saying that you really have to do a needs-based assessment in the community you're working with, and what's already out there, and not duplicating efforts, and making sure that what you're able to provide is really direct need and service to those youth.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think it's just important to note that most park districts don't do the same type of direct service that we do. So most times they're going to be a city agency, and they're going to contract out most of their direct service in a way that we don't. So in that sense, Chicago is unique in terms of how park districts function.
Great, I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing that, Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
Really exciting to hear all of the wonderful work that everyone's doing. Also very excited to hear about how we're all working together to connect the work in ways that really wrap around young people and enable them to dive deeply into what they're interested in and ultimately, hopefully, what they're passionate about and what they'll carry forth into college and career and into their lives. And so I just want to personally thank everybody for the work that you've been doing and also the time that you've given to really share that work through Chicago City of Learning. As we get ready to close, I just want to get some final thoughts from each of you, maybe a minute for some final thoughts, anything that comes to mind just based on this conversation that we've had today. Matei, you want to go first this time? You're muted, Matei. Well, let's go to Alex first, and then we'll come back to Matei.
Okay. I think honestly, in being involved in this work is really key, and I know that DNY and Cecil have really been making great strides to get practitioners involved in this work. And so, my biggest sort of final leaving thought is despite the 80+ hours a week that all of us are working to do our program, is how can you get connected to this work that's being done. I mean, if Cecil is going to be successful in Cecil specifically to us, but any city of learning that's going to be happening, you really have to have that commitment and that investment from the people who are doing the work. And so any time that you can carve out to be a part of what's going on, and specifically we have a work group that's really trying to to communicate that value to the youth, and really get them interested and focused in what badging is, and we need help. We have a very small group, so I think anybody who can work with us to move this work forward, I think it is key.
Thanks, Alex. Matei, are you back with us? You want to share some final thoughts from the conversation?
Yeah, I think my screen just did something crazy. I think that the work that we're all doing is very important to Chicago youth and youth across the country, across the world. And I love the idea of being able to do things like this and participate in different collaboratives, because it allows us to see other things that are out there that we would not ordinarily know. So I want to first thank, groups like Cecil and the Hive, because we just, at TrueStar, we kind of stay in our silo, and we really are collaborative in nature. So we want to make sure that we continue along that, and it's been great. It's been a great ride, and I think that it's just really good to be here with like-minded people, and I hope to be able to participate in other things like this again.
Thanks, Notte. Vaughn, some final thoughts about what we've been talking about today?
Yeah, just to reinforce the importance of collaboration, partnership, and having a heart for service. I think the work we're doing advances lives of youth. I think in a city like Chicago, we often talk about violence prevention, and that language is not what I like, because preventing violence, and it to me is like putting kids in a holding cell. We have to be promoting life advancement and development, and pushing them towards, what their future is going to look like, not just protecting them. Like, you protect them by helping them build a life, because if they don't have skills, then they're going to be back as adults with no skills and not very many options. And I think our work gives people options, which inherently is a protective mechanism. And so I think the language and the spirit, of service and really, giving people life is extremely important.
Thank you. I really appreciate kind of the reframing of that, Vaughn, and totally agree that that's what this work is all about. And it's been wonderful to be in this conversation today with everybody, and also to be in the work through Chicago City of Learning with everyone. And my final thoughts are, just based on what everybody has shared in this brief conversation, I know I have a follow-up email with each of you to build on the work and keep this good work going. So I just want to thank everybody for participating today. And for those of you who've been listening in with us, thank you for joining us, and we hope that you enjoyed this time with us. It's been a great conversation. There will be a full video recording of this webinar available immediately on www.connectedlearning.tv. And there's all kinds of great curated content on Connected Learning TV, in addition to the video from today's webinar and from the series that is being featured in June. This wraps up this first webinar, and please feel free to keep the energy going on Twitter using the hashtags #CitiesLearn and #ExploreShy. And if you found this conversation helpful, interesting, inspiring, provocative, etc., please share it with your networks. And if you'd like to know more about upcoming webinars from Connected Learning TV in 2015, again, please visit connectedlearning.tv and sign up. There's an email newsletter you can sign up for on the website. I want to thank everybody again for your time today. I want to thank all of our Chicago organizations for all that you do every day with young people across the city. And we're really looking forward to an exciting summer here in Chicago in partnership with all of you and all of our other partners. So thank you.
Thanks.